chat tends to align to the left, so if the picture was as far right as possible, it covers up the least amount.
As you wish.
When he said "as you wish," he was really saying "I love you."
Yep.
Is this a kissing book?
It can be, Tristan.
I feel like this is a kissing podcast now.
Fight, kiss.
This is the Player 4 Podcast. Join us each week as we talk about movies, video games, and pop culture, and break down the latest stories from our Dungeons & Dragons campaigns. Player 4 has entered the game. Hello and welcome to the Player 4 Podcast. I'm your host, Tristan, aka Chagrazir.
I'm Alex, aka Chaos Black 21.
I'm Malika, aka Sukikiba.
I'm Joseph, aka J Dunlap, and we have a fifth person, a guest today.
Guest. Sorry.
My name is Aria's here. Thank you for having me on this podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Welcome to the podcast. It's been a while since we've talked, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It's been like 3 years now.
Well, I blame Joseph.
Always blame Joseph.
Yeah. But we are super excited to have you back. It's really great to hear from you again. The last time we talked to you, you were really getting into telling us about your cosplay making streaming, which was very, very cool. But I hear you've been doing other streaming now. Would you tell us about it?
Yes, the primary focus has been gaming because cons are not really going on right now. And I actually haven't been doing cosplay streams anymore. I ended up switching that over to Patreon, and that's been like a consistent thing of content that I put out each month as well. But Twitch is mostly turned into just like a way to socialize with friends and play games together. And we hold like community events every week to hang out and have a ton of fun too.
Oh, that's super awesome. What kind of games do you play with them?
So lately we've been playing a lot of Valheim. And yeah, it's been pretty fun, but also rage-inducing at the same time.
Now, Valheim, if I remember right, is kind of like I guess I would call it a little bit of Skyrim meets Minecraft, right? Because you there's some of that swords and monster fighting, but also building your shelter, right?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely a really beautiful survival game. One of the first things I noticed when I jumped into it was just how stunning the graphics were, like the way the rays of sunlight just like beam down on you when you go in there at first, and it's just a really well done and beautiful game so far. They've done an incredible job with it. It's gorgeous, and the gameplay is a ton of fun, and it's a lot of fun to play with friends as well. But we've also been playing a lot of Genshin Impact too.
Oh.
We really like dived into that as well.
And that's like a gacha fighter game, right?
Yep. I'm sure you've seen like all the memes.
I've seen that, and I've actually played a little bit on my phone, but I haven't played it in a while because I'm not a fan of playing it on the phone. I'd like it to be on. I know it's on PlayStation, I believe. I'd like it to be on Xbox, but it's not currently, and that makes me sad.
That face.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is not on Xbox. I know it is on PlayStation too. PlayStation, and it's also on PC and phone.
So that one, like, I've played gacha games in the past. I've put money into gacha games in the past, but they were usually like single player kind of stuff, like rhythm games and things like that. Or where like the most interaction you'd have with other players would be like their like monthly competition gameplay kind of stuff, where you might like be playing the rhythm game against other players or some such. So I'm not super familiar. This Genshin Impact plays a little bit more like an MMO, right? Kind
of. I guess you could look at it that way because it does have like a lot of questing and stuff. But when you do multiplayer, one person comes over to your world and you're able to hang out and do world stuff together. So it is restricted in that way. It's not like massively multiplayer, but it's like up to 4 players can do co-op together and run dungeons and stuff and explore.
That sounds kind of nice, though, because then you're not just like overwhelmed with tons of people and trying to navigate it. You just have your friends.
Yeah, it's honestly playing Genshin Impact has been a blast because I've made a lot of new friends through playing that.
That's super cool. My friend Malachi and I, we used to play a lot of Phantasy Star Online, the original one on the GameCube, and you'd kind of get together with up to 4 people and do dungeon exploring and stuff like that. So we can kind of relate to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I play Monster Hunter all the time, which is a similar style.
Oh my gosh, I love Monster Hunter. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Does that one make it into the rotation with your community, Ari? Monster Hunter?
Well, Monster Hunter World was one of the first games I ever streamed, and it brought a lot of people together. It'll always have a special place in my heart. I thought about checking out Monster Hunter Rise for Switch, but I'd like to wait until they release that for PC.
Now, is that just because it's like a little bit easier to stream from PC, or?
Yeah, I've noticed with Switch, sometimes it gets a little choppy for me. And I feel like most of the people in the community play on PC.
Is it cross-platform, or is it not really?
They probably won't make it cross-platform, because I remember when they released World and one of my friends, Amy, was playing, she couldn't play with us, unfortunately.
Oh, man. I like that we're seeing like more and more games going cross-platform for their multiplayer. Like, one of the reasons I'm able to play so much Sea of Thieves lately is because that one's cross-platform. So like, I play on my PC out of the Microsoft Store. I have a friend who plays on PC out of Steam, and then Alex plays off of his Xbox, and we're all just able to jump into the game together, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I really like how they're doing that too. It makes it so you can meet more people and play with more people online. It's more flexible that way.
Yeah, and you don't have to, like, choose. Be like, oh yeah, I want to play that game with you, but I don't have it on the system you have it on.
Yeah, that always sucks.
Yeah. I remember back when Elder Scrolls Online released, and my best friend, she got it. And I was like, cool, we can play together. And she's like, no, I got it on PlayStation. I was like, oh.
No.
I have it on PC.
Oh,
Yeah.
Monster World came out. Tristan was debating on possibly playing it, but they decided to stagger the release between PC and PlayStation.
They staggered it by 6 months, so by the time it released on PC, everybody who I wanted to play it with who had bought it on PlayStation were done with it.
I want to bring up Ari, because you said that was one of the first games that you were really streaming, and I remember it was that, and there was the one, I think it was a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it was Resident Evil 7.
And then at some point, the Kingdom Hearts game came out. So those were like the first big 3. But I wanted to sort of hear you and Malachi exchange notes about your experiences with Monster Hunter, because I remember you were super into it, and you had kind of a, we'll say, attachment to a few of the monsters.
Whoa.
We'll say attachment.
Do we have to go to the spicy Discord for this?
There's nothing wrong with that, because my spirit animal is an ogre. It's just, he's my guy. I
have a really big obsession with dragons. I've loved dragons ever since I was really small. I actually have a book called the Dragonology Handbook, and I bought it when I was like 8, and I still read it to this day. Not ashamed to admit this, okay? But there's a monster in Monster Hunter World called Legiana, and I was just so smitten with. It's like a wyvern, but oh my gosh, this is one of my favorite monster, and I'd always get like really lewd when I would play fight that monster.
And what did you call that particular monster?
Oh my! I don't even remember.
Waifu for Laifu?
Yeah, Waifu.
Joseph digging up the embarrassing stories. Gonna bust out the baby pictures in a second.
For
Joseph
close to 4 years.
Yeah, you have a sharp memory. I don't even remember that.
Goodness gracious.
Those were the times. So much fun. Any game with dragons, I'm in there.
Nice.
I'm in it.
They put dragons in Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah, that unfortunately was one that I missed.
There was a neat storyline leading up to it, and then all of a sudden, like, this whole part of the world was just infested with dragons. You're just like, there's dragons everywhere!
Aw, that sounds so freaking cool.
And they'd be big server-wide events. You'd just have, like, 20 to 30 players just, like, going from dragon event to dragon event. All fighting together.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like a really big raid.
Yeah, it kind of, yeah. It was kind of like, I don't know how big, I think there's a raid thing on ESO. I never checked it out. That was never, like, the part of the game that I was interested in. But this was, like, the open world kind of raid, where you didn't have to, like, get in with a group. It was just, you would see it on the map, here's the thing happening, and you just kind of would go over there and start doing, and other players would join in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's becoming more of a thing. Guild Wars 2 was one of the first big ones for that.
I was just about to bring that up. I love Guild Wars 2.
It's been so long.
Yeah. That was an MMO I sunk so much time into, and I made so many friends on there. Like, we're still close to this day. I don't know what it is about MMOs, but it's almost like a family, the guilds in those games.
I've made some friends recently, and in my previous guild that are similar, like the guy who taught me how to make ribs and built my computer, someone I met in an MMO.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Yeah. The longest friends I've ever had were all from MMOs. And honestly, when I played Guild Wars 2, I noticed, like, back in the day when I played it, a lot of people were leaving the game, and it kind of lost that kind of, like, family-like vibe. And I think that's a big reason why I started streaming again, is because I wanted to bring, like, that guild feel back to life again, because I really missed it.
I think I might be too old, or I just kind of missed the MMO found family kind of thing. I think I probably have 2 long-term friends in my life that came from MMOs, and they were both from Ragnarok Online, which I'm guessing a lot of people here haven't heard of.
I've heard of it. I just haven't really played it.
Super old. I don't know if you were aware of the MMO scene during things like MapleStory or Gaia Online.
Yes.
But it predated both of them.
I played Gaia Online and I played MapleStory. Those were the days. I feel so old.
I would compare, like, the art style for Ragnarok more to MapleStory, but MapleStory was like a side-scroller, and Ragnarok Online was like this 2.5D thing where, like, they had this 3D, like, plane that was the world and all the buildings in it, and you could, like, zoom in a bit, zoom out a bit, and you could spin the camera around, but you couldn't get to, like, any angle other than 45 degrees. And then all the monsters and characters and everything in it were just 2D sprites that had, like, 8 different angles on them. So if you spun the camera around, they would appear to rotate. It was old, but I had a lot of fun back in, like, 2006 with that game.
Didn't for a while you and Malachi go back and play Ragnarok? Or
we did. We did find a download a few years ago that we played for a little while, but, like, you know, then schedules being what they are, it's tough to keep up with those kinds of games.
Yeah, it is. I think I missed that because I was really into this Korean MMO called Fly for Fun. I don't know if you...
Yeah, Fliff. Fliff Online.
I played that also.
I have, I only know it exists because there was my DM, my D&D DM in college, or, like, just after college for me. She was still in college. That was like her name on DeviantArt was Fliff Fan, and I was like, "What's Fliff?" And she would get, like, really embarrassed. She'd be like, "It's this MMO, Fly for Fun." Like, okay, I mean, if you're having fun, that's cool. You don't have to be embarrassed about it.
It's a MMO filled with degeneracy. What?
Oh, degeneracy. Well, maybe be a little embarrassed.
No, but I actually, it was released, I believe, in, like, 2002, and I think they took down the servers for it finally. I don't know if it's still going or not, but I I still have friends from that game, and they still like I'll see them come into my stream still every now and again, and we'll hang out. Like some of them are playing Genshin, and it's so cool the kind of friends you make over.
I feel like they're the people who like come in the room in the back and they just stay up against the back wall and you make eye contact and you recognize each other, but you keep going with that whatever you're doing because you know if you talk to those people, all that shit from your past is going to come out and it's going to be a great time, but you're going to regret it later. No, I'm kidding.
So how you feel about me, Tristan?
Yeah.
Wow. Are you going to take that, Joseph?
I did that time.
Nah, it's fine. I think that I think what Joseph and I need is just a day where we can make burgers together again.
Oh heck yeah!
Good.
Hey, will you spoon with me and watch Walker Texas Ranger? Or is that just an Alex?
That's just Alex, and we talked about this.
It's our special thing.
Walker says I have cancer.
Why is that so funny?
That is an excellent question because it shouldn't be, but it
now
is.
They're coming out with a new Walker Texas Ranger with what's his name from Supernatural?
What?
Day?
No, Jensen. Jared Padalecki.
Yeah,
talking about the Supernatural hunks now. Is that what's going on?
They're definitely trying to capitalize on sexy Jared. And I mean, both of the Winchesters were pretty sexy. I'll give them that. I was more of a Jensen guy.
So sexy.
Smexy. Let's go straight back to 2008.
You know, it's funny because like. They are really attractive, but most of the men I'm attracted to are like 2D men. Like they're drawn. So I'm like, yeah, they're attractive, but you know,
those 2D men, they just set a standard that us real men just can't.
We can't compete. We would have to lose a dimension. But I mean, I can't blame you. Like right now, I'm in the throes of a relationship with Alucard from Castlevania. He's amazing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He's the best.
Sounds tempestuous.
Oh, it's very tempestuous. He is a drama queen, and I love him.
He is.
Have you, Ari? Have you finished the latest season of Castlevania? It's on Netflix now.
I have not. I need to go watch it.
Oh, go watch it. Go watch it. It's so good. It's so good.
Ooh.
Like, it holds up. They have set the bar so high every season for the quality of voice acting. I really buy into every character, and I love how they're presented. And there's a character who makes a speech, and it's so impassioned in one of the early episodes. I was just on the edge of my seat for the whole... It's just a speech, and it was so good, so well voice acted. I love everything about the show, the animation, the story, the characterization, the voice acting. It's just so well done. I'm really proud of Castlevania. They did a great job.
That's the stuff I live for. I'm gonna go check that out now.
It was so good. And there's so much Alucard, and he's so good. I think you will like.
Are you talking about the anime?
Yeah, the Castlevania.
Yeah. I still remember that. I just happened to get to watch the premiere of it at RTX because I was working at the theater there during RTX for guardianship, and so they're like, "You can stay if you want and watch the preview." I was like, "Okay, I guess I will."
Yeah, that show is so good. If you have any love for Castlevania, the characters, the story at all, I just recommend go and dive into it because you'll get sucked in by everything else. It's so good. I think my favorite.
I've gotten into Castlevania, but the show, the premiere, did interest me. I just never got around to watching it then.
I mean, I gotta be honest that like one of the biggest draws for me from season 1 was that I was finally presented, like, a lot of my friends watch a lot of anime. I watch a little less anime than most people in my friend group, just because it's hard for me to find an anime I really like. And they're all... Look, I like anime. I do. There's so many that I'm like, there are so many tropes in here that I cannot.
Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. No, I'm kidding.
Tristan is very anti-trope.
There's a lot of great anime out there, but like, I have friends who are like, oh, I'm watching these 12 anime that are coming out this season, and I'll be like, nope, crap, I won't do this, nope, what the fuck is that?
Way back when I was in college, I was like, every season I'd be like, all right, I'm watching this, all right, I got 15 I have to keep track of.
I can't, Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. There's this one show that became really popular, and when shows are really popular, I'm hesitant to watch them, like I put it off for a long time.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. And I ended up giving Demon Slayer a chance, and it's an amazing anime.
I had two people, and they still are like Demon Hunter, like, they love it. It's their favorite thing ever. But, like, they showed me the first episode, and I was just so not into it. There were several things about it that really turned me off from it, and it doesn't matter what they were. It just wasn't for me, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm not into this. And they're still going hard on it, and I'm just like, I'm glad it makes you happy. I really am. It just didn't do it for me.
Right, sorry.
I understand it, you know, I get it. The animation is beautiful and the voice acting sounds great. It was just the characterization was there were things about the writing that I was having trouble with, and I was like, I can't get into this. But go ahead.
Right, when I watched the first episode a while ago, I was like, nope. And then people were pressuring me to check it out again, and I did, and it just got really good. Like, the further I watched it, sometimes the first episodes are like meh.
Yeah,
but
that's
then
true.
It starts to pick up. So I can understand that.
Yeah, and you're definitely right. Sometimes the first episode doesn't sell it as well as you should. My friend will always tell me, you've got the 3-episode rule. Like, give it 3 episodes, and if after 3 episodes you're not there, it's not going to happen. And I guess I didn't give it 3 episodes, so that's true. I guess I could have been fair. There was a lot of stuff going on in the first episode that was it was pushing me away. Like, I was sitting there going, why are they doing this? Why is this happening? You know, this would not be a problem if they didn't do this. I found myself saying that too much. I'm like, this isn't, like, it's cool, it's great, I'm glad you're having a good time, I'm out.
Yeah, I can respect that. I can, yeah.
Well, that's also the thing to where, like you said, you didn't give yourself enough time to see why they were doing that. Because sometimes you have to, like, your guilty pleasure, Tristan, that you enjoy.
No, shut up. Don't talk about it.
where it's obvious things that
shut up
to do it to make it enjoyable.
Don't bring it up.
Subject a little bit.
We don't acknowledge it, Malachi. It doesn't. If you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't have power.
What are we not acknowledging?
We're not acknowledging the greatest anime ever created.
So, yeah, it's just one of those things that where it's always good to give it a little bit because you don't know where the story's going and why the content was in there the way it was. And like you said, when you watch something, it's all about how you relate to it, what you get out of it. So
yeah,
and some things are for everyone.
Yeah. Speaking of giving time, has anybody? I haven't watched this personally, but has anybody watched? It's an old anime, Hunter x Hunter.
Yes, I love Hunter x Hunter. It's so good.
Well, you're not going to enjoy this.
Hang on. Well, hold that love, because I'm about to take a big dump on it.
Okay, so I haven't watched it, so I can't say anything. But there's another streamer I watch, Bruce Green, who used to be part of Funhouse.
I thought you said Blue Screen at first. I'm like, that's a great name.
So he watches anime or whatever, and someone brought up, like, asking him if he liked Hunter x Hunter. He's just like, no, it is terrible. And I watched every single episode so I could tell people it was terrible.
Wow, why? It's so good.
If my friend,
but it's just like, that's what I thought of when just like, you got to give it time. It's just like, well, I mean, he at least watched the whole thing, and that was his conclusion about it.
I mean, if he watched the whole thing, is it really that terrible though?
I mean,
He
sometimes
did it
you
so
hate
people
watch
couldn't
things.
go against him and be like, "You didn't watch enough." It's just like, yeah, I watched the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
It's what?
Sometimes you hate watch things, and sometimes you do it to spite other people. This is one of those cases.
I never watch anything to spite anyone. That I find that silly. I find that silly. I'd look at the person like, oh, why did you like it? It's like, I'm sorry, it just wasn't my thing. You know? And like here's a little bit of example. Tristan is not a big fan of fan service.
I hate
at all.
fan. It is like I will drop an anime instantly the first time I see fan service in it.
I love it.
So for me, a little bit of fans like when they get overboard when they're trying too hard to do it. I'm just like, okay, that's a little overkill. But a little bit doesn't bother me at all. But so that's one of those things in an aspect of a show that's just like it's one thing. It really is against your taste. It just makes it unenjoyable.
Right, like if it's tastefully done, I get you. Like there have been a couple shows where it's just way too far, you know. But no, I'm not gonna.
So
say
like,
that.
I guess that there are a couple shows that have fan servicey things in them that I will ignore or look past because and those are always either if it's tastefully done, like they tie it somehow into the character development or something like that, or if it's so over the top as to be impossible to take it seriously, like as a come on, like as a hey, this is sexy, you're getting into this, like it's just so over the top that you're just like, this is just weird. And Gurren Lagann was that for me, where it was so over the top I couldn't take I couldn't take the fan service seriously, and so I love the shit out of Gurren Lagann. I've watched Gurren Lagann so many times. It's one of my favorite shows.
Okay, never mind.
You thought I was going to say I hated Gurren Lagann. No, the fan service was so...
Of Yoko. I was like, no.
Yeah, no, Yoko's great because the fan service with her is so weirdly placed and so ridiculously done as to not actually be sexy that it's just like, it just comes back around to being funny. And so I love Gurren Lagann. I do. It's one of my favorite shows.
It's all ooh goo, Tristan.
Yeah, so
we do not talk about canon.
Well, so with Alex saying with that streamer that I watched the whole thing, and there might be something in the story that just doesn't float his boat, and that's why they don't like it.
There's times where, like, yeah, like, they'll supplement story with fan service. So, like, well, we have a shitty story, but if we do enough fan service, it'll keep our demographic watching. It's like, no, write a good fucking story.
But those are the bad ones.
Or, like, maybe, I like the ones where you're beginning a show and it's just not, like, like it's already a really long show, like, crap ton of episodes, but you just start getting into it, and then somebody's like, you're like, I don't think I'm gonna keep this up, and then somebody's like, no, don't worry, it's great, it really picks up at episode like 270, and you're like, do I really want to watch 270 episodes to finally for it to get good?
Right.
Can I just skip to 200? No, you gotta get all the story that leads up to that, otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Fuck.
Don't be dissing on my One Piece.
Okay. Mad respect for anybody that watches all of One Piece. I haven't finished it. I just noticed there were some spots where, there's a little bit of filler. But overall, I love One Piece. I did a cosplay of Luffy. I love Luffy so much. He's a precious little bean. I love him.
He's a precious little stretchy boy.
I actually forgot an arc and purposely went back and watched like all of the series from the start one time. Took me 3 months like watching like ridiculous hours to get through it.
Oh no.
But right now I'm slowly watching it with a friend. Not up to the current episodes, but I do read the manga.
Yeah, Luffy is he's always there for his friends. He's hilarious, and he's always smiling so dang hard. Just love him so much.
Before we go too much deeper into, well, as I said in the chat,
rabbit hole,
the disparity between normie and non-normie and our cast being so perfect,
we got the big spread of the people who are just living anime and the people who are on the edge of anime.
Yes, it's a perfect mix. But I wanted to circle back to Ari's journey as a streamer since the last time she was on here, because you've really gone through a lot and learned a lot. And I wanted to see if you could just talk a bit about that for us.
Yeah.
It's just like, as a summary, I've been following you for about 4 years now, before you were even on Twitch.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I'm just shocked that you've been here for it all. I never thought people would, stay or anything. So it's really humbling to hear that, honestly. But it has been quite the roller coaster, and I get a lot of people asking me, how do I keep going without I think the number one question I get from people is streamer burnout. Like, it's a really real thing. People get it and then they stop streaming for like periods of time, and I feel the best way to combat that is just to have multiple interests. And there's also like a really big mental health component that goes with it too. Like, everybody's like, oh, try streaming, it's wonderful, it's great, everybody should stream, but they don't talk about the bits where, some people get really discouraged from it all, or they get down from it all. And I think the best thing you can do is just never ever look at how many people are watching. So when I start my stream, I don't ever look at the numbers, I don't ever look at who's in the chat. I'm just there to have a good time with everybody that's there, to check on them, to make sure that they're good and that they're having a good day. And if they're not, we can talk about it. And I always try to never pay attention to that, because that's one way that's gonna, it's gonna mess with you. And I see a lot of friends that let that get to them, and it's always like a really big thing that I tell my friends is, if you're streaming, never look at who's watching. Don't just don't
just don't do it. You're gonna make yourself sad.
Yeah, but
advice.
Yeah, definitely. But I think another aspect to it that just really helps me keep going is, 3 years ago I was just not in a really good place in my life. I almost disappeared. Like, I didn't want to keep going, and the amount of joy and the people that I've met just over the years and stuff, it just makes me on cloud nine. Like, this is the happiest I've ever been. I never thought I could be this happy. I never thought I could be surrounded by such wonderful, beautiful, caring people. And I just, half the time I wake up and I have to pinch myself. I'm like, is this real? Is this a dream? Like, what's going on here? Oh, the imposter syndrome has hit me again. Oh no,
Yep.
So it's just been a wild ride, and I never thought it would get to this point, and I'm just really thankful for it all, because without you, without the people that stopped by, I don't think I would still be here right now, honestly. Like, it was a very life-changing experience, and I'm just humbled by it all, and I'm beyond thankful. But yeah, it's been pretty wild so far.
That's actually really an awesome story, and I'm glad that you shared that with us, because I think everybody has had those low times in their life, and like we always have to really dig to find a way out, and it's a different way out for everybody, right? And so like it's really cool that this was a thing that was so helpful to you and has remained, a great joy. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for letting me be able to share it. I really appreciate you guys having me on here and everything.
I want to circle back to, yeah, I agree, Tristan. I want to circle back to some of the more specifics about how you're doing with your stream now, like what you're doing, when, and all that. But I did want to circle back because something cool happened this week, and every time we do an episode, if there was a D&D game, we're going to talk about it. Tristan, what happened this week? And what happened last week?
So a D&D game happened this week? Is that what you want me to say? And then a D&D game didn't happen last week?
No, well, mine happened last week.
Yours did happen last week. So we had 2 D&D games after like a month of no D&D. We try to stream every week, but Sometimes, scheduling conflicts arise, and so we have to miss some weeks. I do apologize to Joseph. I'm not exactly sure what you're hoping I will focus on with this.
Just like what we usually do, just the elevator pitch of what happened to get people to go watch it.
Oh, okay. Sure. Every week we have 3 D&D games that usually occur, with the exception of, when the scheduling issues occur. And they are Everybody Loves Riken on Tuesday, 7:30 Eastern Time. Thursday is Valinaria Chronicles, which is 6:15 Central Time, I believe. Yeah, 'cause it's like 7:15 for me. And then there's Stories of the Unbound Shores on Sunday, which is at 2 p.m. Central Time. And I gave the time zone of the DM for those 3. In Everybody Loves Riken, it's a story of my 7 players in my homebrew world of Amaranta, as they are trying to take down an ancient green dragon that destroyed the home of one of the players, and as time has progressed, they have realized a larger and larger plot that this dragon is involved in, and now they are struggling to save the world.
And how many years has this been going on, Tristan?
Only about 5. Ish
for one campaign,
a little more.
But I enjoy it.
Do you guys do any just like any quick games? Like I know that
one shots. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had. Oh, sorry.
You're fine. You're totally fine.
Okay, I had some people in my community asking about D&D, and I was telling them hit Joseph up because you guys do D&D. So I was just curious, like, what are your methods of like getting people in on that and stuff?
We have the Player 4 P4 and Friends Discord, which we can post a link for. Within which we have a one-shot channel and a one-shot role that can be requested, so that when we begin planning a one-shot, and for those that Joseph, myself, and Derek are the people who generally try to come up with one-shots every now and then, we'll post in there saying, okay, if you want to participate in a one-shot, let us know, and you'll get pinged, and then we'll come up with availability. We limit them to like 4 or 5 people at a time, and then we'll just pick a date and run a one shot with all the people who want to and who are available. And we try to get a one shot in, every month or so. It can be tough with just coming up with the stories and stuff, but I've got a bunch of backlog one shots that I can run at any time if people want.
That's really cool. That's something I would be interested in.
Yeah.
Because I don't really have a whole lot of time to commit to like a long game. So one shot would be really beneficial.
Yeah, and one shots are great because, so with a campaign, you're usually going, okay, we're going to meet every week or every 2 weeks, whatever your schedule is, and it's going to be an ongoing story for as long as it takes. Whereas one shot is you're going to plan out for from 2 to 4-ish hours, possibly one day. And then you get in, you get the nice little end-to-end story in a 4-hour session, and you're done, until the next one, if you want to play another one.
That's really cool.
Our styles are a bit different. I generally run all level 1 one-shots so that people have as little to familiarize themselves with as possible. Very friendly to people who have never played D&D before, and also just very easy for people who are more familiar with it to I hand out character sheets so you can just look it over and you know everything that you need to know. And I try to have nice little self-contained stories that have a good feel by the end of them. Derek generally makes sort of higher level ones. He's run a 5th level and a 15th level one. So those are some interesting varied experiences on power level and the type of story that you run. Joseph, have you run a one-shot yet? I don't remember, actually.
I haven't yet. I'm willing to do one this summer, but the big thing with me is, though I have run 5th edition games, it was, I think the only time I really did that was I did the, what do they call that? At the game stores, Adventurers Guild or something.
Oh, the Adventurers League.
Yeah, Adventurers League. I ran a campaign for them simply so that they would open up on Sundays so I could run a different one. But my main experience is doing 3.5. So playing with me means the understanding you'll be playing an older system that's a little bit bulkier.
A little bit, yeah. But yeah, so I talked about ELR, Everybody Loves Riken. Thursday's game is Valinaria Chronicles, which is run by Joseph. It's a 3-5 system game. And that is telling the story of a group of misfits who have come together from different areas of one portion of a continent, and we are finding our path as we learn the strife that exists in the area and try to define ourselves as either heroes or as sellswords. And there's a lot of internal debate over like how we should be conducting ourselves in that regard. So it's interesting as you've got these up and coming heroes who are trying, at least one of them is trying very hard not to be a hero.
Being a hero doesn't necessarily pay is kind of the debate that's going on.
According to that character, a hero is just a mercenary who's bad at negotiating.
It seems like a really interesting and intricate story, like, for a plot.
Yeah, and a big part of it is that, as the description that Nightbot gave is saying, it's a post-war society. There had been a great kingdom, similar kind of to Rome, that had existed about 200 years prior that had collapsed just overnight. And this, we're 200 years later and society is still rebuilding on a local level. It's like if we lost the internet, basically. Because every area is a little bit different. There's struggles going on. There's areas just not being protected, like they had to liberate slaves from an orc tribe. Whereas in another place, the worst that's going on is a tax that's being levied.
Yeah,
of course, that was a big thing.
That place is going to fall apart.
And they're going to be discovering that there's a uniqueness to each little area as far as how they're coping with rebuilding their society over several generations.
And so that one's interesting. I like that one a lot because my game ELR was formed 5 years ago. I was approached on the D&D forums subthreads on the Rooster Teeth website by a bunch of people, a person who said, "Hey, I've got some friends. We've never played D&D before. You're on this forum a lot talking about the rules and stuff, so you seem like you might know some things. Could you DM for us?" And so that's kind of how ELR started, was like that conversation. And hilariously, the person who approached me isn't even in the game. They disappeared after the first session. Everybody else, or a bunch of the other people, stayed. The group grew and evolved and changed over time. My biggest regret is that I had one female player toward the beginning, and her schedule didn't allow her to keep going. So I now just have all male players, which is really sad to me, just because we don't have the diversity of I wish my best friend had availability at the time that we play, because she's one of my favorite role players ever. We've got a okay balance. I think we've got 3 males and 2 females in Valinaria Chronicles, which it feels better. I think it's important in storytelling. You can have a good time. So ELR's a good time with my friends. But I wish that I had been able to, my female friends had the availability for it, because I find role-playing with them just so much fun, and they bring usually a direction to the story and a depth of character that I don't often get with my male friends.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Tristan.
I still love you, Alex.
I will say that we basically handpicked our group for Valinaria.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are people that we've known for years on years.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that everyone in the group brings something unique and special to the sessions,
mm-hmm.
to the story, to the character interactions. The guys and the girls just equally. There's always something they're going to bring to a scene. Derek in the chat, by the way, often brings something interesting to a scene, whereas maybe Bree's character brings a little bit of awkwardness, with her character, and then out of nowhere, Danielle's character will point out something that no one had thought of.
Yeah, Danielle is a very fun person to roleplay with. She definitely gets into her character, and that's great. I love that in roleplaying when people are thinking in the mind of their character.
I feel like that's what I brought to your game, Tristan.
Yes. Oh, go ahead, Ari.
I always thought it was really cool when people would, make their character and then do a cosplay of their character. Like, I see that a lot. It's so cool to see that.
Yeah, you get some really original cosplays. Mm-hmm. I did that for my Eldrin Wizard that I played back in 4th edition in college. I learned to sew so that I could make some fancy-looking clothes and a cape and such.
That's awesome, though. Do you have pictures of it still?
Possibly. Not on my computer. And I have the cosplay in my closet, so I could always take new ones. Yeah. I just remember going to the garment district in Cambridge and finding just, like, the perfect boots for him. And it was always a struggle getting into them because getting good-looking boots for cheap just meant I had to buy, like, ladies' boots, and my feet aren't quite the right shape for them, so I had to, like, put inserts and stuff so that I could fit into these boots. But they look so good!
Oh, yes, the boot struggle is very real.
Like, ladies' boots always have, like, you look in the right places, they're just, like, perfect, like, medieval-looking ones with just the right, tones of leather and straps in just the right places. I'm like, these are perfect boots. And I picked them up for, like, $15 a pair of boots.
What?
Yeah,
That's
Garment District
so
is
good.
great. If you've ever been to Boston, if you ever go to Boston, go to Cambridge, which is north side of the Charles River, and near Kendall Square, there's a place called the Garment District. And it's basically all costuming and, like, old stuff. There's a lot of just, like, people turn in old clothes. They have a room inside that is basically they've just strewn the floor with random bits of clothing, and if you go in there, you can kind of just, like, fill a bag, and it's, like, $5 for the whole bag.
What?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's so nuts in there. But I love it. I've found so many good articles of clothing, especially for costuming, at the Garment District. And they're really great prices.
Yeah, hold on, let me pack my bags. Bye.
Right. So I found these perfect boots for like $15 there. And then like all the materials I got at like Joann Fabrics. So it was a great cosplay. I actually the most expensive part of the costume I picked up like a year or two ago, the last Ren fair I ever went to before COVID hit. There were these people doing like hand cut and decorated liquid satin capes, and it was just this beautiful purple cloak with a hood and just like this image of a dragon that they had hand painted onto it.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I miss
awesome.
Ren Fair.
Yeah, it was like $100-some odd or something for that cape, and I was like, I'd buy it. Gimme.
Mine.
So we're in the. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
No, that's all I said was mine.
Mine.
Oh, mine.
Mine.
So we're in the home stretch for the episode, which means we need to do summaries for the 2 most recent sessions, and then we're going to ask Ari about her streaming stuff.
Okay, well, give me 1 minute to do a summary of, because I haven't talked about SOTU, Stories of the Unbound Shores. I didn't give the elevator pitch on that. And that is definitely a group of people who came together from different walks of life, as we have, like, a thief and a pair of paladins and a wizard and a barbarian who thought he was a bard. He doesn't even know he's a barbarian. Which has been interesting because he'll go into rages and then he won't remember that he was raging, and the paladins were like, "Are you okay? What was that?" He's like, "I don't know. What happened? Tell me." I don't know why that's happening. So we're trying to get him to a hospital, figure out what's going on to him. And the story on that one is that the party is currently engaged in trying to stop this Death Knight, which is an undead creature that just keeps coming back after you kill it. And they're like, I would say they're more dangerous than liches, just because, like, at least with a lich, if you find their phylactery and destroy it, they can't come back anymore. The Death Knight can just keep coming back over and over forever until you make them repent for the horrible thing that caused them to become a Death Knight. And so that's what the party is dealing with in that campaign. That's my elevator pitch.
Good elevator pitch.
So last Thursday we got to pick up with Valinaria, and then this Tuesday we got to pick up with ELR. So let's do our little summaries for that. So first, Valinaria. Let's see. A while back before I had a whole bunch of end of the spring semester music concerts. Thanks for getting my joke there, Tristan.
You got you, buddy.
Let's see. You guys were finally like, hey, people are no longer asking things of us. Maybe we can get to the capital city of Averin and get some work. So after depositing the liberated villagers who had been enslaved, and then they were like, so a few of them, so we're going to follow you? And you're like, I mean, on your own dime, sure. We got a wagon. We're paying for it. So then you went back and dropped off the wagon, got paid for your sponsorship and whatnot. And then we did a whole session of doing that plus beginning the journey to Averin, which between that session and the most recent one was between that and 2 sessions ago was a combat encounter with bandits, which resulted in you guys basically, I don't want to say adopted. You captured an elf archer who everyone was convinced she's down on her luck. Let's capture her. Maybe we can turn her life around. And she was a surely gray elf, which is in D&D terms more of in Greyhawk more of the high elf sort of trope, which is like they're the snooty ones with like the white hair, whereas the high elf is more of just like in Tolkien terms the gray elf. So they were like, yeah, this gray elf must be with the bandits because she's down on her luck. So we're going to treat her wound that we gave her, and then we're going to Tristan's elf was like, I'm going to drag her around Averin when we get there, and we're going to find the Thieves Guild. She's going to join it with me, and we're going to be best of friends.
I definitely never said that last part.
We're going to be best friends.
I don't know. I think I can picture you saying that.
She hated us, and we killed all her friends.
Yes. So she's like, not trying to get away. She's just allowing him to cart her around Averin while he looks for the Thieves Guild. And she's like, so what if I don't want to join? And he's like, well, then I hope we don't cross paths again. She's like, yeah, I can agree with that. So we did a whole session after, like, that same session was everyone going through the city, except for the dwarf who rolled solo. He went straight to the tavern, and they all went around looking for information, or in the case of Danielle's monk druid, she was trying to find leather armor that could be made for her big old Pyrenees.
Drunk.
And then they all converged at the tavern, and we did a little bit of RP there, and then we picked up sort of at that point, but also backtracked to a little bit more roleplay prior to that with the Paladin, Derek's Paladin. But that was last week's session where we're actually trying to get some information about leads on getting work. So it was a lot more just like bouncing between people, getting some roleplay out of the way, because I love roleplay heavy sessions more than maybe most players might, but I forced them to do it anyway. And let's see, we went from player to player, and we're going to be finishing off with our next session, which should be next week, of finishing up all of their gathering of information across the city, trying to establish basically connections, leads, friendships, that sort of thing. And they're going to, I believe, converge and then go out to eat on a river view restaurant, which will be fun. Just 2 different people found out information about the restaurant. Yeah, they're going to hold hands.
I knew it! Degenerates!
That's so lewd.
Believe this.
And if winter's allowed, they're going to sneak snacks.
Sneak snacks.
We do sneak a lot of snacks, because that dog deserves all the snacks. The dog
Winter's
is my
a good
character's
girl.
second in command of the party.
Didn't she become your first mate after Derek lost a wrestling match?
Oh yeah, definitely. Derek couldn't be trusted anymore.
Man, just with, 18 episodes now, there's so many little stories we can tell.
It's true. For Tuesday, it was our first time back on in a month because there was just a bunch of scheduling conflicts right in a row, and I was losing my mind because outside of work, my only joy is D&D. And I've been stuck working from home for a year, so I need my D&D, and I wasn't getting it. we had left off a month ago, where the party had just finished a gigantic combat against illithids from the Far Realm, and the wizard had created a magnificent mansion for everybody to take a long rest in. And so this session was within the magnificent mansion, kind of like cooling down, chilling out, kind of taking care of all those things they couldn't think about while they were fighting for their lives. And so it was very roleplay heavy. The entire session took place within the magnificent mansion, with the exception of a 5-minute conversation that the wizard took outside of the mansion. He called up his girlfriend with a communication spell, and then there were some good talks. The warlock went perusing the library inside the mansion and learned a bunch of stuff about magic. All the books having been taken pretty much directly from the wizard's mind and created when he did the spell. So that led to some interesting stuff. The sorcerer they've reached 14th level. So the sorcerer just got his wings from his draconic bloodline. And he had, on a previous session, called up his father, and the father, who is a dragon, had come and met them in halfling form, and so he got to have this father-son bonding moment as he learned to use his wings. There were some heavier, deeper conversations that were more private that happened, a couple of those, that have yet to be shared with the rest of the group. So I'm looking forward to how and what parts of the information from those come out to the rest of the party. But yeah, otherwise it was a very chill, just, I'm going to go take a bath, I'm going to go read a book, I'm going to go faceplant on my bed, this kind of session, as they prepare for the next day of hardship on their way, fighting through the Underdark to get to a city of drow who are all sworn to Lolth, and try to take back a magic artifact that they stole during the ransack of the city at the beginning of the game. And I mean 5 years ago. It was a nice chill session. Sunday's game, the players are, since the DM for that is not on voice with us, I'll talk about it for him. Sunday's game, the party is working their way through a dungeon in the form of an unfinished dwarven fortress that has long been manned by the undead. Its creators killed, resurrected as skeletons, and basically forced to serve the Death Knight. As we are hunting for the Death Knight, he had managed to jump on a nightmare, which has the ability to transfer itself and its rider to the ethereal plane, where we cannot interact with them. And we have been basically, since he can still communicate with us, we've been trying to goad him by poking at his pride into showing his face in the material plane again. Since he's chosen not to leave, we're trying to goad him out. So it was kind of a funny episode as the players are all like taking shots at him, trying to piss him off so that he fights us. Like, come on. So that's pretty much what's going on there. It's just been a big, long battle.
I'm really interested in the dynamic between the father and son dragon. It sounded like a really wholesome, genuine moment there.
Yeah. Actually, I'm pretty proud of it. I had been surprised when the player had said, "Hey, I had this magic item made in the session when we could make our own magic items. It allows me to perform sending. I want to send a message to my father." And he composed this message that contained all this information about what they were trying to do. And I have the father's character in mind, and I said, if he receives this message, he's going to want to come and get the information in detail from the party. And so he sends back, stay in the city that you're in. I'll be there in 2 days. Or, tomorrow, basically, because he could fly there. And so then he shows up, and they give him all the information, and he's like, I think it's important that I stay with you, because after you accomplish what you need to do, you're going to need to get somewhere distant, and the fastest way to do that is going to be to fly with me. So he's been hanging out with them, and so they've been going through all these combats, and the father's just like, show me what you can do, son, I know you can do it! I raised you well, I trained you how to use your magic, go, fight! So he's been like this great cheering section. And then the sorcerer, of course, gets himself into these dangerous situations, gets beat up, so the father's right there to kind of give him a hand up. At one point, in one of the fights, one of the enemies just came right up to the sorcerer and kicked the crap out of him in a couple attacks. And the father got pissed, just marched over there and melted him with fire breath.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just like, stop bashing my son! So yeah, it has, in my opinion, been a pretty wholesome, very interesting dynamic. And when the sorcerer hit 14th level and realized that this change was occurring, that the wings were trying to come out, he went to his father and said, everything feels weird. It feels like when the magic is trying to fight its way out, but a little bit different. And his father's like, I think I know what's going on. Hold on, and they got to have this moment as he taught him to grow his wings.
He goes, Dad, I'm sprouting wings. Anything you want to tell me?
That's supposed to happen.
Let me tell you how I met your mother.
Did you drink a Red Bull?
Let me tell you how I met your mother.
He started telling the rest of the party how he met the kid's mother, and the kid was like, la la la, I can't hear you. I don't want to know about this. Dragon's great. The dragon...
I guess we're going to circle back around here.
Yeah. Oh, the thing I wanted to circle around to was that Ari had said that she had done some D&D and she wasn't currently, so I wanted to know what her experiences in the game were.
I have not had a lot. The most recent one I had was a while ago, actually. I was invited to can't remember the store name. It was like Player One. It was in the mall. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends was running like a promotional D&D game there to kind of help them get more into D&D. Just to make it more popular, because this was back when it just wasn't as prominent. I feel like with the pandemic and everything, I feel like there's been a lot more D&D activity going on from what I've seen. But back then, she invited me. She was like, please wear a cosplay. I'm trying to help promote this. Maybe it'll help bring people in. So I wore a cosplay. It didn't even really have anything to do with the game, but I wore a cosplay, went in, and we sat at a table, and we just played D&D with people that came by and stuff, and she was so great at storytelling. Wonderful awesome. Dungeon master,
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, sometimes that's how you end up getting into these things. But yeah, if you're ever interested, like I said, we do one-shots every now and then. Like, they happen like once a month-ish. We can throw the one-shotter tag on you, so you'll be able to hear about it when we start planning one, and if you want to participate, all you have to do is raise your hand.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'd be interested in doing, and I'll go ahead and bring that up in my community as well, because I know that there were some people that were looking into doing D&D there.
Nice. I believe there is a roles channel with a bot where you can request roles, but I tend to just throw roles at people who, if I figure out that they want one, I just toss it there.
I'm just picturing, like, throwing rolls.
Bread rolls?
You get one.
Oh, did somebody steal your sweet roll?
I'm going to rename it Bakery Bot.
Bakery Bot. There, I am throwing the one-shotter roll at you, Ari.
Thank you.
That way, when I ping the one-shotter tag, you will get the message, and you can then decide if you would like to participate or not. It's totally fine. We have so many people that I can't even cater to all the people who want to play sometimes, because like I really only have 5 slots at a time.
Yeah.
But I will give higher priority to people who have never gotten to play before. So if you want in, you'll probably get in on the first one just because you've never done it before. So you're
awesome.
Higher priority.
Cool.
Okay, Ari, let's circle back to your streaming. I want to know 2 things, which is what games are you currently streaming, like in the past month or 2, and then what are your streaming days?
All right, so currently I'm streaming Genshin Impact a lot. I was streaming Near Replicant. Oh my gosh, those are Feels train wreck of Feels. Oh. But I am going to be switching over to Resident Evil Village. And we were doing some Valheim, but I'm actually going to be bringing back the sub-pick community day. It's where we just roll in the community and a random sub gets chosen and they get to choose a game to play on that stream day. And it's like, oh yeah, and then there's Pokemon Mondays. We've been playing a lot of Pokemon Snap too. It's so good. But stream days are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Does it have all the nostalgia from the original Pokemon Snap?
I cannot answer that because I was never able to play the original, but I think it does have quite a bit because one of my friends is playing it and he played the original and he is absolutely fallen in love with the new one.
Yeah, that's something I need to check out.
You do. It's really good.
Gotta
So
throw
good.
fruit at Pokemons.
Yeah, throw.
Just
Gotta
beat
play
'em in the head
music
with
at him too.
Hey,
Boop
Pokemon.
him on the snoot with the apple.
Move him on the snoot.
Boop.
Boop.
Pokemon, smile! Smile! Get it! Click! Got it.
I hit you in the nose. Why aren't you smiling?
I think some of the funniest pictures I've seen people share just basically look like apples with legs.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I know that people have been taking pictures of Pokemon butts, and Pokemon has been getting onto them about it and deleting their pictures. Like, they're not happy with it.
What?
Yeah.
Aw.
Someone took a picture of a Bidoof butt, and they were like, nope. And they,
Nope.
nope.
Badoofadonk.
Yeah, it's a Bidoof Badonk.
Yeah. How dare you take inappropriate pictures on a children's game?
But
I would never.
everyone has a butt.
Yeah, that's a
Some
butt.
butts are just very photogenic.
That's true.
Like Tristan's.
Aw. I better not find any pictures of my butt around.
Ooh.
You won't find it, don't worry.
Oh gosh. I knew it. It's in the spicy roleplay area, isn't it?
Oh, I'm gonna go check that out. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I guess that's it for the episode.
This was a good episode. Highly successful.
Thank you. Thank you
Great.
for having me.
Thank you for being on, and I do hope that we can invite you again soon, yes, Joseph?
Definitely.
Sure, yeah.
It was honestly my bad because I got swamped with so much college stuff and everything, and
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you done with college stuff now? Then?
for now because it's summertime.
Oh, okay. How many semesters do you have left?
I have 12 more classes left, but I don't know if I'm going to do the full load each semester because one of the end classes we have apparently takes a ton of effort and I'm kind of scared. So
Oh,
we'll see.
it's gotta be somewhat like. I feel lucky that I was able to finish my college all well before the pandemic. 10 years ago, but and so I really sympathize with the people who are trying to do college now in pandemic conditions. I think that it's very difficult, and I want to say a little unfair how it's being handled.
Yeah, I feel the same as well. However, I feel that I am actually doing better since it's been online because my major is CIS and I do a lot of programming. So it's like I'm teaching myself programming, and
Nice.
yeah,
But I
Since
mean,
the teachers
also-
aren't.
teaching it. Oops.
Programming was definitely something that did not come naturally to me, and it super frustrated me because I always felt like language did come pretty easily. Like, I studied lots of foreign languages, and I felt pretty comfortable with all of them, and then I did programming as part of my major. It was a required class, and it just didn't click at all.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, it's hard. When I first started, I've had to get so much tutoring. So much tutoring.
yeah.
So much tooting.
Tooting.
I've had to learn a little bit of Python lately for my job, but like it's so minimal as to barely count.
Mm-hmm. Python is really handy. I really like it. It's a pretty enjoyable language.
Yeah, it's very human recognizable,
Mm-hmm.
or human readable, I think is the term.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the coding I was doing in C++ and MATLAB, which was not
Oh, no.
super human readable.
Yeah, C++ is gross.
It's a lot of there's a very large difference between pointer based coding and object oriented coding.
Yeah, I'm doing it for web development. I don't think I could ever do gaming. Like, as much as I'd love to do game development, I don't think I could ever do that. Like, it's
Game development hasn't switched over to like Python or R or one of the other languages that might be better for it.
yeah.
Damn. Well, that's really cool, and I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad that it hasn't been as negative an impact on you as it has for some other people. That's super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one final goodbye. Thank you so much for being on. Please let us know when you have free time because we love talking to you.
Definitely. I love talking to you guys too. I'm sorry I haven't been as available lately. It's been like chaos.
Life happens.
Yeah. Nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
thank you again for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Super happy. All right, Alex, we want to see ourselves out?
Well, we have to ask Malachi. Malachi, what time is it?
You're right.
Time to get the flip out of here.
Let's flip out.
Heck yeah.
Hashtag goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
We always say good night because we usually stream in the evening.
It takes me back to the old...
I was like, wait, are we saying good night because it's going to be at night? I'm confused.
They always switch it up on me nowadays. I say goodbye, and then they all say goodnight, and then I have to say goodnight, and then they say goodbye. I don't know what's going on. But
I
it does...
know what's real and what's not anymore.
Time is an illusion. But
All relative.
it does make me think back to the old P4 midnight snacks.
Oh, the midnight snack.
When we couldn't stream at our normal time because of scheduling, we'd just do it a few hours later.
Time
That's
for a Player 4
awesome.
podcast midnight snack.
Midnight snack.
That sounds intimate.
It was sexy podcast time.
It is the midnight
Yeah,
snack.
that was the dirty podcast
It was
time.
dirty podcast.
Oh, man.
We definitely turned it up to 11 those times.